I've been teaching here at Schoolcraft in the computer graphic technology department for about 12 years or so now. I'd say since the late 90s I've been doing broadcasting and so on. It's interesting because we started off with broadcast and film. Cinema was more of the focal point and the main thing to strive for. And it was different technology, analog technology. There was some digital, but it was more up and coming. And then since I've been in the industry, it's kind of changed full circle. And now, digital is the hot thing, and everybody is creating content. So it's great to be able to help people create content and bring some of the old traditional techniques into some of the new technology and help people tell stories and create media. Before, it was a lot more cumbersome where you would need a whole crew full of people. You would need a truck full of people and lights and audio, and cameras themselves just keep getting smaller and smaller. The quality of video keeps getting better and better. And the amount of knowledge that you need to create media is somewhat shrinking, and they're making some decisions for you, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. So you kind of need to understand the basics of storytelling and how you can communicate through imagery and sound, because sometimes those programs, those apps are going to make choices for you that would be better if you go at it a different way. If anyone is thinking about getting into CGT, computer graphics technology, I think it's a great program because you can use these techniques as a career in itself, or you can use these techniques in different occupations. The skills are very relevant and up to date. We use the latest programs, and we're giving people opportunity from all different backgrounds. We have people right out of high school that come in to learn how to use these computer graphic programs. We have people that have been in the industry for 5, 10, 20 years. We have people that are retired that come back. They want to learn how to do 3D graphics and how to do animations. They've always wanted to, but now they have the free time to do it. So it's great to be able to help people out through all these different spectrums and either find a career using these tools, these techniques, or use it in their life for personal enrichment. So it's interesting. I've wanted to do broadcasting ever since I graduated high school, and I went to broadcasting school. And then I worked in the industry for a little while, and then I realized there's quite a jump technologically from entry-level positions to being a director of photography to making your own media and stuff back in like I said, later 90s, early 2000 period. So I went back to school, got a bachelor's degree, and in media and broadcasting. Ended up producing a TV show called Your Brush with Nature. We aired on PBS all throughout America, and that did great. Ended up getting us some international distribution deals through broadcast. We were in the Middle East, we were in North Africa, and then eventually streaming services came around. So then we had a whole nother breadth. We had Netflix we were on, and that was international, 138 countries or some such thing. Amazon we were on, Amazon Prime, and we're still on Amazon now. So it's cool to make media and then 10 years later be getting residual income from that, and then be able to keep creating more shows because people are interested in it. We were on PBS for 4 seasons in Create TV, and then they changed their programming and so on, so we didn't have that opportunity. But then when international came around and all the streaming services and website, we developed our own website, so now people can watch our show online. So technology allowed us to continue forward. We're still making PBS quality programming, but now we have more opportunities for people to watch it. And it can be more loose. Like before, it had to be 26 minutes and 36 seconds per episode. Now we might be 30 minutes, it might be 32 minutes, it might be 28. We have a little bit more flexibility, like being online. So that gives you a little bit of freedom too, to concentrate more on the content versus just having an exact time. So I was doing it for the Michigan Production Alliance. I'm on the board of directors of Michigan Production Alliance. and we were hosting an event here at Schoolcraft College, and it was about visual effects and special effects. And I was talking about visual effects, demonstrating how to do visual effects. And Professor Mike Meehl came to me afterwards, and he's like, "Oh, that was great. Have you ever thought about teaching this sort of stuff here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." So I started teaching, 1 or 2 classes, and it just evolved to over a dozen or so subjects that I teach now. And then I went back and got my degree in teaching, my master's and so on. And yeah, I just love doing it. Originally I started as a professional in the industry, and I still work for a living in the industry, work with clients and do broadcast TV and different videos. But teaching is like a main part of what I love to do now. So when you're starting out, there is a tendency to want to worry about all the technicalities of how to use a camera, this and that. But it's really about storytelling and how you can best tell a story. And so we start a lot of our classes off. We have a foundation track in the CGT program where you are learning just the basics of digital imaging. We have a design class that you have to take, Illustrator, photography. And so you got to start from there, and then you can move on to motion. We have motion graphics, and you start moving things, and then you start adding sound. We have a sound design track, which we're in beautiful Lab F300 right now in the Forum building, and we have professional Pro Tool workstations. The same sort of equipment you would have in a studio when you go in, the same kind of software that they use to mix the latest albums you might hear on the radio or Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're listening to music these days. So we have the technology and the equipment here. So there's a lot of stuff that I like to do outside of working, and teaching and doing video production and photography. One of the things I do is I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I train with a good buddy of mine, Joe Rico, at Stronghold, BJJ of Livonia. And so he started the school about 6 years ago or so, and I've been friends with him for a long time, over 20 years. We used to play in a band together, but he knows that I've been in media and I've been doing this sort of thing. So I kind of traded a deal with him, and I became the marketing director. So I do the marketing for Stronghold Jiu-Jitsu, and so we started as a small school with a few students, dozen students or so, renting out a part of the facility, and now we have our own big place. Mat size doubled, student enrollment doubled, and things slowed down a bit because of the virus and so on, of course. But the school has just grown exponentially, and we just established a lot of really strong relationships doing jiu-jitsu. We have a lot of police officers that train, ex-military, security guards, but there also be doctors that train, and people that are in research and pharmaceuticals and psychologists. You'd be surprised of all the people that train. And then the reason behind it is it's because it gives you something physical to do. You sit on the computer and you're concentrating, you get kind of fatigued by just sitting there. So you got to do something physical with your body. So when you're in that fight or flight stage, you kind of have a certain clarity that comes to mind, and you pay more attention to your body and your surroundings versus being a little bit more haphazardly clicking and sitting there. And it's just to learn not to panic. You learn a lot by learning not to panic, and you're in a situation, there's someone that's a lot bigger than you or whatever, and you feel like, oh my God, I can't breathe. But learning not to panic in a tough situation can be important for any industry or in life, and you learn that through jiu-jitsu, and you learn it many times, sometimes in a role, when you're training with somebody, because you can always tap out and say, okay, that's too much, you got me, you're about to break my arm, you're about to, I can't breathe, whatever. Yeah. But it's humbling, and at Stronghold, it's a real good environment to be in, because like I said, it's a great group of guys and women and kids, at all ages of people can train there, and it's just a real humbling experience to learn from each other. And everybody's there's ranking systems and so on, but everybody is equal when you're there and you're rowing and training. And again, you learn how not to panic in tough situations, and it can help you out by work. You're trying to render and the computer's crashing, instead of freaking out and swearing and kicking your computer and stuff, which that's okay to do sometimes too, to an extent. But you learn to not panic, and then what to do next, and then you rely on your training. So what works in this scenario? Can I go a little this way or that way, or what can you do? And eventually there's a way out of anything. So you just got to be patient. So you learn a lot about patience doing jiu-jitsu and other hobbies and stuff that I do. I'm an ambassador for Scuba Diving and Aquatic Adventures in Michigan. And so I do scuba diving, and then that has also led me to do camera for Outdoor Network. I did a show called Hook and Look, several episodes, some in Michigan, Wisconsin, Florida, Minnesota, and so we would do underwater photography and then on the boat. And it's just interesting to get underwater and see that perspective, and then use that different technology in different ways. It's really fun. On campus, I'm also a core ability team leader for Demonstrate Creative and Critical Thinking. And what that is I help other instructors evaluate these core abilities throughout the whole campus. And so we get to see work from all of the disciplines, from culinary, from business, from engineering, and then help to assess that students are actually demonstrating these core abilities. And it's really helped open me up to see what everyone's doing on campus, but also just to demonstrate on these soft skills, these core abilities that every student that goes through a program at Schoolcraft College needs to demonstrate: creative and critical thinking. So it's cool to see that and then help other instructors figure out how can I include creative thinking in my curriculum, because we have a degree in firefighting technology. Yeah, we do. And so it's for example, well, how am I going to use creative thinking? There's not a whole lot of places and room for that. But so we kind of help them figure that out in one way or another. And it's about thinking outside of the box. People have used that phrase a million times. But one reason why people need to go to college is figure out ways to think about things logically, and you can't just Google everything and ask your phone hey, how do I do this, how do I do that? And so you have to be able to think critically, try different steps, try things differently than you normally would. If you're trying one thing and it doesn't work, you have to try an alternative process, maybe see what's been done in the past, try different techniques, and so that's one of the things we look for. And did you try multiple approaches rather than just saying, well, I know this technique, I'm going to do it, and then we're done. Do that technique, see how it turned out, and then try something else, and then see which one is better. And so that's another thing that we try to assess. And so, yeah, it doesn't specifically apply all the time to if you're trying to help someone get out of a burning building. You're going to figure out what's the best way to get somebody out fast and efficiently, but later on you can think about maybe it would have been better if I tried this technique rather than that approach or whatever. So it's not that it's always going to be 100% applicable, but just thinking outside of the box and different ways to do things. Basically, that's what we try to do, is make people think outside of the box, and I'm glad to be a part of that initiative at Schoolcraft, because it helps students on campus and outside of campus and in their daily lives and so on. We have something called the Schoolcraft Film Challenge, and I came up with the idea, and we started doing it. Last year was our 10th year anniversary doing it, and we did it virtually because of the pandemic. But what that is it's a 48-hour event where you have a prop and a line of dialogue that you were given on Friday at 7 p.m., and then you have a weekend to edit it, record it, put it together, and we watch it in the auditorium together. And then we have industry professionals give you feedback and judge them, and then we have prizes, and we have all sorts of sponsors that are primarily industry related. They give hundreds of dollars of prizes, and it's just a great experience. And we have alumni come in. We have students that are currently working in CGT, high schoolers, middle schoolers, and it's a great way for everybody to come together and then just focus on telling a story. So we've been doing it in the fall around Veterans Weekend every year for the last 10 years, and we decided to move it to the spring to give people a chance to not worry about finals, not worry about all the college courses going on, because we don't have as many going on in the spring. So May 20th, I think, is the date that we're planning on kicking it off, probably virtually, and then hopefully, if everything goes well as far as the pandemic and meeting, we would have a live screening in the auditorium again on the 22nd, on that Sunday. So we're really looking forward to possibly doing that this year. So that's one thing to look out for.